Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 5th of September, now it's 22:11 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for a day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. There are quite a few very significant developments and news that I'd like to share with you for this moment, and I will start with a short summary of the situation on the battlefield, if I may, and I will begin from southern sectors and then up to northern ones. So first, Kherson region. According to latest updates, nothing did happen in this region that will influence overall situation on the entire sector of the front line. It's ordinary stuff. Artillery duels between the sides, recon operations, and the constant fight for the small islands on the Dnieper River. Although anytime we may see a significant activization of Ukrainian forces and attempt to mass cross Dnieper River in several directions, from Gulyai Pole, which is on the southern side, up to Novaya Kakhovka, which is on the north on Dnieper River in Kherson region. Indicators we have that the Ukrainian side may conduct such operation mainly because of significant concentration of Ukrainian forces in on the right bank of Dnieper River, but will Kiev authorize such operation is a question, because in my understanding, mass crossing of Dnieper River are supposed to take place simultaneously with the second wave of Ukrainian counteroffensive on its main axis, which is this land bridge between Crimea and mainland Russia, Zaporozhye and South Donetsk sectors of the front line. And at least for this moment, we did not see Ukrainian second wave of counteroffensive, and we did not see any more or less significant success on part of Ukrainian forces. So therefore, maybe Kiev will eventually refuse to conduct mass crossing of the Dnieper River, but well, time will tell, of course. But when it comes to southern sectors of the front, more interesting development is that Kiev now is actively pushing this narrative that during the one of the strikes in previous days in direction of Ukrainian ports Reni and Ismail in Odessa regions, one of the Russian drones did a strike on Romanian territory. And by the way, theoretically that's a possibility, because Reni and Ismail, these two port cities, are located on Danube River, and right across this river it's Romania. So borderline between Ukraine and Romania in this area goes on the river itself. And during the previous days, Russian side did strike in direction of Reni and in direction of Ismail, but Romanian authorities are basically saying that Ukrainians lie. Ukrainian media, Ukrainian officials are lying, because no Russian drone did fail on Romania's territory. So this, and by the way, even if, let's say, because of work of Ukrainian radio electronic warfare system, one of the Russian drones lost orientation and fell in Romanian territory, which would be unfortunate, of course, but accidents may happen. Or if a drone was shut down and some fragments fell down on Romanian territory, this is not an act of war. This is an accident. And I don't think Romania is very keen to enter war with Russia because of the accident. And I don't think Western ruling elites have in plans full-scale war between Russia and NATO. So this attempt from Kiev, this attempt of Zelensky and his criminal associates to somehow provoke direct conflict between NATO and Russia will, of course, fail. And as I mentioned, according to Russian reports that I see on a Russian segment of internet, Romanian officials denied claims of Kiev that Russian drone fell on on Romania's territory. That's quite interesting development. Let's see how during the day this topic will develop. And of course, I will share additional information on my Telegram page. Now let's continue with the other sectors of the front. So next is Zaporozhye sector, and during the during the previous 12 to 24 hours, nothing really did happen that can call more or less significant. Ukrainian forces still are trying to conduct local scale offensive operations in direction of Rabotina, in direction of Verbovo, in direction of Novoprokopovka, this settlement on the south of Rabotina, but they still are unable to establish full control over any of these settlements. Most success that Ukrainian side had in this on this land on this bridgehead is in Rabotina area. Basically, we can say that northern parts of this small settlement, by the way, small settlement with only several roads and a few dozens of buildings, northern and central part of this settlement probably are under more or less operational control of Ukrainian forces, but southern part is not. Southern part is in gray zone, and battles are continuing around Rabotina, very same. And as I said, nothing is happening that will influence overall situation on this sector of the front. We had some reports that forward units of Ukrainian forces are on close vicinity from Verbovo, and same goes for Novopokrovka. But yet again, Ukrainian forces are unable to achieve real success on this bridgehead. Most interesting information when it comes to Zaporozhye region is that we have a first video confirmation of destroyed British Challenger 2 tanks. And this tank may be not the first one that was destroyed by Russian military personnel, but this video is definitely first in this regard. And as you can see, Challenger 2 is burning quite nicely, like Leopard 2s did previously. And well, Defense Ministry of UK's government and maybe military industrial complex definitely not gonna be extremely happy to see this video footage, but it is what it is. As I said many times before, Challenger 2s will burn like matches on the front line, and that's exactly what is happening. And by the way, also interesting point is that this Challenger 2 tanks was on inventory of 82nd Brigade of Ukrainian Armed Forces that was in strategic reserves. And according to Rybar, let's say, biggest Russian military channel on Telegram, which has over a million followers, by the way, according to Rybar, this 82nd Brigade is on the verge of total collapse. That's how high losses are among units of these brigades. And now we did see video confirmation that even Challenger 2s have been thrown to the battle to achieve any more or less significant success, and they are still failing. They are still failing because they never had even chance to achieve any success. Let's be clear here. Ukrainian forces never had any chance to achieve any more or less significant success in this so-called counteroffensive. And me personally, I was saying this for many months before this counteroffensive even began. I was saying that counteroffensive will be a suicidal operation for Ukrainian army and the beginning of the end of Ukrainian armed forces as more or less capable entity. And exactly this is happening, by the way. So I will call situation on the Zaporozhye region deadlock. Nothing is happening that will influence overall situation on the front line. In coming days, we may learn that Russian forces withdraw from this southern corner of Rabotina and regroup in direction of Novoprokopovka, or on the western side of this settlement, which is also nothing special. Russia does adopt this mobile warfare tactic very successfully. And by the way, to prove this, operation around Rabotina is enough, because according to a number number of reports. Ukrainian forces just for battles around Rabotino lost more than 20,000 military personnel and hundreds of pieces of military equipment. So this tactic of Russian army, mobile warfare, definitely does its job perfectly well, and Ukrainian brigades are very successfully denazifying and demilitarizing themselves, with Russian help, of course. But it is what it is. Let's continue now, and let's go to South Donetsk sector of the front line. We have some updates when it comes to this sector. According to some reports, Ukrainian forces finished their regrouping and now are ready to continue their local scale offensive operations. And there are some reports that they even began to attack several settlements on a line of contact in Vremevsky salient area on the eastwards. From Vremevsky salient, between salient and Ugledar, but yet again we didn't have any reports that Ukrainian forces had any success during the day. If Ukrainian forces are becoming more active in this area, I'm quite sure during the day we will see many video footage from Russian side with the additional bunch of destroyed Ukrainian armed groups. But yet again, right now, nothing is happening that will influence overall situation on the sector of the front line. It's a deadlock. It's a deadlock, and every single day is another confirmation that this Ukrainian counteroffensive is a miserable failure. That's it, really. And when it comes to Donetsk direction, also usual stuff: artillery duels between the sides, recon operations. And by the way, as you know, yesterday I did report that some sources were saying that Russian side did manage to establish full control, 100% control over the Marinka, but unfortunately I didn't find any official confirmation of this information. This settlement was under Russian control, about 90%, and only a small corner on the western side was controlled by Ukrainian forces. And well, because I didn't see any official statement or confirmation that Ukrainian forces withdrawn from western corner or Russian side established full control, then I will receive this settlement. I will see this settlement as contested still. And also Russian side was quite active, more or less active in the direction of Krasnogorovka and Avdiivka, but nothing in the scale that will influence overall situation on the front line. As I understand, main task of Russian armed forces in this area is to distract logistical lines of Ukrainian armed forces, and main reason for this, not just because Ukrainian groups are using these logistical lines on Donetsk sector of the front, but because very same logistical lines are used by Ukrainian forces in Ugledar and Vremevsky salient area. And that's it, really. As I understand, main task of Russian forces on the southern flank of Donetsk sector is to distract logistical lines, and until situation around Ukrainian so-called counteroffensive will finally resolve, I don't think we will see significant activization of Russian forces on Donetsk sector. And by the way, northern flank of Donetsk sector is of course Bakhmut or Artyomovsk and surrounding areas. And well, as I did not see any confirmation about Marinka that Russian side is in full control of that settlement, I did not see any confirmation about Klishevka also, that Ukrainian forces managed to enter the settlement once again. And during the previous days, there were some reports on some channels that central part of Klishevka is under control of Ukrainian forces. And because I did not see any confirmation of this information, I will assume that this settlement is under full Russian control, and the clashes are taking place on outskirts of settlement, like excuse me, like Riber excuse me, like Reboot channel is reporting. So overall situation in Bakhmut direction is also under control of Russian side. Situation is stabilized, and I don't think Ukrainian forces will be able anytime soon to resume the local scale offensive operations on the southern flank of the Bakhmut. When it comes to northern flank, initiative is in Russian hands for a long time, and the Ukrainian side is just trying to hide somewhere from Russian drones and artillery. They are not even attempting to conduct any local scale offensive at this stage. And when it comes to northern sectors of the front line, yet again it's the usual stuff: artillery duels, recon operations. Russian side is quite active lately in direction of Belogorovka once again, which may be a good indicator, that Russia is preparing large-scale offensive operations. But the question is, will this large-scale offensive begin in next several weeks before rainy season starts, or we will see large-scale Russian offensive operations in the winter? That's the only question at this point, and this is short summary of the situation on the battlefield. Overall, it's a deadlock all along the front line, and nothing is happening that can be called a breakthrough on any one side. And by the way, before I continue with some other news, let me point out that this project with several channels on YouTube, Rumble, Telegram exists, and Patreon exists only thanks to support of members of our community, and I will be immensely grateful if you will also consider to support with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You will see links under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. That being said, let's continue with some other news, and this is gonna be breaking news for this morning. TASS news agency is reporting, based on statements of Mayor of Moscow Sergei Sobyanin, that Russian air defense systems did shut down yet another bunch of Ukrainian drones that were moving in direction of Moscow. This happened in Kaluga region and Istrinsky district of Moscow region. And at this point, we don't have any reports about casualties or significant damage on the ground. And also, by the way, RIA Novosti is reporting that in early hours of this morning, Russian air defense systems did shut down drone over the Crimea also. Well, unfortunately, Ukrainian side, Zelensky and his criminal associates are continuing to use any means to strike deep inside Russian territory, and as long as they are receiving intelligence from so-called Western elites and NATO member states, as long as they are receiving money, endless money supply, and military equipment, including long range, this type of criminal and terrorist activity from Zelensky and his associates will continue, I'm afraid. But thankfully, Russian air defense systems usually are very effective, and vast majority of aerial targets are shut down. Let's continue now, and RT is reporting that Alexei Reznikov, I will say former defense minister of Ukraine, even if formally he's still in the position of defense minister. So this former defense minister and extremely corrupt individual did try to defend himself against allegations of corruption, and he said that Ukraine has a constant problem with money, because every single day costs about $100 million, every single day of military operations. And according to Reznikov, volunteers are providing only around 3% of needed supplies for Ukrainian army. Well, he may try to defend himself in any ways, but I guess Washington truly fed up with this immensely corrupt individual that is member of inner circle of Zelensky, and Zelensky himself was trying for a long time to somehow protect him and to keep him as a defense minister, but seems like Washington had enough of these criminals, and Reznikov will no longer remain as a minister of defense, but unfortunately, at least for the time being, he will stay free, and he will not answer for any of his crimes and crimes of regime. That's quite unfortunate, and he will not just stay free, but he will enjoy extremely rich life, because I guess he is a multi-billionaire. now. But yet again, it is what it is. And when it comes to price tab for single day of military hostilities on part of Ukrainian side, $100 million a day. Well, we all know that Ukraine itself almost had no significant income, and this money, by the way, this 100 million a day, comes from US taxpayers, EU member states taxpayers, and taxpayers of all the countries that sending money to Zelensky and his associates. That's quite simple, isn't it? And I don't know for how long Western society is gonna put up with this, when they pay at least 100 million, according to this individual, Reznikov. How long they're gonna put up to pay with reality, when they are paying $100 million every single day for Zelensky, or to Zelensky and his associates. Anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that Russian embassy in Germany did warn citizens of Russia about risks that their assets may be seized in Germany just because they are Russian citizens, including cars, by the way, including cars. This is a new law, I guess, of German government, if they are beginning to seize or rob Russian citizens this way, to take their cars even. Well, question is, when you know that European states majority of European states are extremely anti-Russian and Russophobic because of the governments they have, not because of societies. Those states are wonderful and they have brilliant societies, no questions, but governments that run those countries are Russophobic, extremely anti-Russian, and they use state institutions to harm Russia and to harm Russians. And when they know this, when they have enough information, why they are traveling to Europe? Why? I mean, I don't get it. I mean, sorry, but I just don't understand this. I do understand that, I mean, European states are the wonderful, it's many things to see from historical, cultural point of view, but for God's sake, they have extremely hostile governments, hostile to Russia and Russians, and why you are risking? I don't know. But anyway, let's continue. And by the way, as I predicted, meeting between Putin and Erdogan that did take place yesterday in Sochi did not come up with any significant achievements, really. It was just a meeting for a meeting. I guess Erdogan, for whatever reasons, needed to talk to Putin, maybe to once again bring some media light to his person, his personality, and he did achieve this goal. But when it comes to practical results, there is none. There is none from this meeting. Moscow was very clear from very beginning that Russia is not against Green Deal. All Russia is demanding is Russian interests to be also recognized by Western elites and those so-called elites, and they should fulfill obligations towards Russia, and then Green Deal will start working again. And I guess Moscow has very same position now. But for Erdogan, Green Deal is a big deal, and he did try his best and failed. Failed not because Russia, but failed because of the so-called Western elites. And once again, I guess Putin and Erdogan also did talk, of course, about the situation in Syria, where Syrian armed forces with active support of Russian airspace forces are conducting strikes on pro-Turkish terrorist groups in Idlib province, on the northern provinces of Syria. And I guess Erdogan is not happy about this development also, but well, I don't think Ankara is in position to dictate anything to Russia, especially after they did freed these terrorists, Azov leader terrorists, about months ago. To be honest, I don't understand from where Putin is coming up with such so many nerves really to deal with Erdogan, especially after he freed those terrorists. But because I would not talk to Erdogan whatsoever, I would not shake hand with him. But well, Putin is different, and that's why probably he is a president, that he has good nerves, man. And let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that, well, yet again, you can see position of Kyiv, that they will not go on any compromises when it comes to grain deal. This is in some sense, and this was stated by foreign minister of modern Ukraine, this failed state, Dmitry Kuleba. And I guess in this he's talking about indirectly about this pipeline. First of all, pipeline of ammonia that was destroyed by Ukrainian side from that was transporting ammonia from Taliati to Odessa. And well, even though no one really cares about Ukraine's position. This type of attitude definitely means that even if Western elites will promise that this pipeline will work, terrorists that are running and ruining Ukraine will destroy that pipeline again. And that's it, really. So Moscow just have not even single reason to join this, to resume this grain deal. Moscow has not even single reason for it. But anyway, let's continue. RT is also reporting that Turkey proposes national currencies trade with Russia, which is going to be a big deal for Turkey because Turkish lira is in free fall. As I understand, the inflation in Turkey is extremely high and the economy is in very difficult situation, and this type of stuff is good for Russian economy also. If trade will take place between the countries in national currencies, it will strengthen Turkish lira, at least for several percentage points, and it will probably strengthen Russian ruble also. So why not? So quite a workable idea, I guess. And well, also RT is reporting that Western so-called elites are now planning to pressure United Arab Emirates over Russia ties, and well, as we know, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, some other Gulf states do have great relationships. Almost all Gulf states really have great relationships with Russia, and relationships developing, and United Arab Emirates become a kind of hub for Russia to receive all the imports that was banned by Western elites, and now Western elites want this this route of alternative or parallel import for Russia to be shut down. I don't think they will achieve success. I don't think United Arab Emirates will change its attitude towards Russia or Russian citizens, but Western elites can try. They can once again demonstrate how inadequate they are. I mean, everyone knows this, but you know, let them humiliate themselves once again. Western elites are quite good at it. Let's continue, and well, quite interesting news also. India's capital undergoes major makeover ahead of G20 summit, which will begin in several days' time. It will take place in New Delhi on 9th and the 10th of September. And well, this is a, I guess, big deal for India to host G20 summit. And well, as I said several times before, India definitely become a major player in this world, in every sense, in economical sense, political sense, geopolitical sense, which is great, by the way, which is great for India, which is great for entire world, and Russia especially, because in my understanding, strategic ties, strategic partnership between India and Russia is extremely important to keep in check ambitions of China. Let's say this way. Current leadership of China is, we can say, friendly towards Russia, somewhat friendly towards Russia, although of course it does pursue Chinese interests first of all. But well, things may change in China, and next leadership may become, let's say, somewhat hawkish towards Russia or towards India, for that matter. And if Russia and India are on terms of strategic partnership in every level, then Beijing will think twice before escalating with any one of these two. But let's hope relationships between Russia, China, and India will stay on the good terms forever. Let's continue, and well, this is also quite interesting news. London Bank upgrades Russian GDP growth forecast, and this time we are talking about Barclays, one of the biggest banks in UK, by the way, if I'm not mistaken. And according to this bank, Russia's gross domestic product may grow 1.7% this year. Quite conservative estimate from Barclays. I did see some forecasts that are a little bit more optimistic, but even 1.7%, by the way, growth of GDP is a significant achievement in my understanding, if you take in account all this pressure from the Western so-called elites on Russia and thousands and thousands of sanctions. After all, Russia is most sanctioned country in the world, and it's over 15,000 sanctions have been introduced against Russia by West. And despite all this pressure, even Western major financial institutions are acknowledging that Russian economy will grow, Russian GDP will grow, which is yet again quite an achievement. And also RT is reporting that Chinese banks sharply increasing market share in Russia. This is reported by Financial Times, and RT's article is based on this report. Well, no surprises here, no surprises here. Chinese companies are using this opportunity, unique opportunity, to establish themselves on Russian market, since many Western companies were forced to leave Russia. And well, that's a competition for you. Chinese are very clever. They are good businessmen, and using their chances to increase their market share just everywhere. And of course Russia is no exception. After all, Russia is about 150 million people. In Russia lives 150 million people, maybe more, if you take in account citizens of former Soviet Union that are staying in Russia on permanent basis. And it's quite a significant market, really, for any company from anywhere. And the Chinese banks are, of course, no exception. As I reported many times before, for example, Chinese car manufacturers are just flooding Russian market. I guess they are immensely happy that major car manufacturers of Western world, let's say, and their partners like South Korea and Japan left Russia, at least officially. Chinese are happy about it, man, and Chinese car manufacturers are flooding Russian market. And I guess if not in this year, next year, bestsellers in 5 top bestseller cars in Russia, at least few will be Chinese car, at least few. And by the way, this news is gonna be last for this first update. TASS news agency is reporting about yet another decline of Russian ruble, and current exchange rate of Russian ruble and US dollar is around 97 ruble for a dollar. Yet again, to me personally, it's not surprising that Russian ruble is losing its position, because in my understanding, market should balance exchange rate. That's the best way to go. And if we take in account approximate amount of foreign currency that Russia did not receive because of the Western sanctions and because of a significant decline in economical or in trade between Russia and the EU or Western states, well, in my understanding, objective rate, exchange rate of ruble and the dollar is somewhere around 120, maybe 130 rubles for a dollar. And if I'm not mistaken, then we will see this this trend of ruble losing its position for quite some time. But I will also mention, by the way, that in terms of inflation, at least for now, we did not see some massive hike. In inflation, especially when we are talking about some products, the basic products. So as long as the inflation is staying under 12-digit number, I guess society would not care that much about exchange rate. But of course, topic itself is of course important. And this is it for today's update. 37 minutes, quite short update, which is good, and hopefully you will find this video interesting. And if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary about any topic you like. More likes and comments definitely influence YouTube's algorithm, and gives me a chance to reach wider audience. And for very same reason, if you can, please share links to my videos or my channel with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, Telegram, or any other platform that you are active on. And before I end this video, let me thank all of you for your attention and support, especially members of our community that donating to this project and supporting my work this way. Thank you very much. Have a great day and take care.